All right, leather cloaks that actually read like leather, and I'm talking Wesley Snipes blade leather, not miniature leather, like actually shiny. How are we going to achieve this? I've got some very good news for you. If you've been trying the Games Workshop way and you've got wobbly, sharp highlights going down your edges, that can be quite hard, it can be quite difficult. We're not doing that, we're doing it an easy way. I'm going to be using mini color. You could use any paints for this though, the method will still be very, very useful for you. We're starting off with a chocolate and mahogany base, then we're using jasper, then russet, then a little bit of stone. You could use equivalents. This is a little bit like Rhinox hide, and this is a little bit like Doombull, and you could say maybe this is a bit like Mournfang as well. They're close enough. Don't obsess about getting all of your leather exactly matching in your army. It's a natural material. It's going to look very different model by model anyway if they were in real life. The most important thing that we have here is we've highlighted in our recesses, which is the opposite probably of what you've been doing and what you've been told to do. But that is part of why this is looking realistic, along with our smooth finish and our soft blends. So we don't have sharp edge highlights that are really easy to go wrong. We've used soft transitions, we've used a great big brush, and we've used well-chosen colors. It's going to be much easier than you think. Let's jump in. Something that may surprise you is this. You see down here, right in the very recesses, the light is reflecting. And it would do that a bit on a leather surface, unless it's a completely scratched up, fluffy old leather coat. It is going to be reflecting there as the material bunches together and concentrates the light and it reflects out. So in fact, very differently to how GW would paint this, this may be the lightest point rather than the sticking out bit. Okay, so we need to pick where we're doing our highlights. Now, a lot of people, I think, get into problems with cloaks because are used to following Games Workshop tutorials, and that means that the bit that sticks out gets highlighted the most. This makes something look very sharp, like really sharp, like it's power armor or something. And then the recesses are darker. But actually, if we look at this, it might be a surprise to some of you that the lightest point is inside the fold as well as on the very pointy outside of the fold. So we're going to try and reflect a little bit of that. We're going to be using bigger, softer colors and not jumping up so much. And if you're a beginner, you may well find this is a lot more forgiving. So let's take our pure, we've got mahogany here and we've got jasper. I'm just going to take pure mahogany and that's going to be the beginning of our color. Don't have any of the chocolate in it. We're just going to use pretty broad strokes to hit a lot of these points. Check it out with a light and remember to hold it the right way up. I'm using a piece, so I've got to work out which way the right way up is going to be. I think it's going to be here, and I'm going to start just by blobbing a great big line down in the middle of the areas that are lighter. Do not worry about it being precise. Do not worry about going over the edges. It is all fine. This bit here is particularly light. That bit here is particularly light. So I've given myself paint by numbers by doing that, and we're going to be following those indications as we go on. All right, so we designed mini color to be nice and smooth. Some of its key traits. And what that should mean is, as you work your way up through your colors, it's not too difficult to keep things kind of where you would like them. So I'm going to take our first color, and those areas that I padded down, we barely made a difference on top of our base coat with the chocolate in it, so I'm just going to add more of our next color to it. Don't want to step up too much. You can always make it brighter, so don't be overly hasty with adding in this stuff. And then pretty much where we put our guidelines down before, we're going to go for those areas again. Right in the middle, be brave. It does not matter if you shoot over some edges, especially if they're meant to be a little bit dark on the other side. Just don't worry about it. Big strokes. And the fact that we're using satin paint here is really helpful. We're already screaming leather colors and leather finish, and it's just going to make all this process way easier. Any little spiky folds or whatever, make sure you catch those. It's definitely doable with a big brush. And as we have been with all the steps, make sure you let each of them dry before moving on to the next one. Here I am demonstrating smooth paint, and we've got a little bit. There you go, got him, whatever it was. Probably from not changing my water, normally is. Okay, So it's very important that your previous step, you are big and brave and bold, because you need to leave room to shrink your areas as you move on. So if you go too small initially, you'll end up getting into a bit of a tight spot. That's one of the main things you need to worry about. So within the previous sections, we're just going to put down another great big fat splodge. Now, the recess is scary, so I'm going to leave that until I've got less paint on my brush. We're not using like crazy strong paints. These are really good for blending and glazing, so we should be all right, but there's no harm being cautious. Okay, remove some of the excess that we've got, and very carefully, I'm going to brace off my finger and my egg and run tip of my brush down this recess. You don't have to be super thin, but we do want to get a line down all of it. And this one has a bit fat at the top, it's okay. And this one. Got to leave room because we're going to highlight inside those with following steps. All right, it's time to use the fact that we've got really smooth blendable paint rather than mega strong paint to our advantage. We're taking Jasper and we're just going to be using it pure now. It's slightly diluted, but because we've already got it down in the areas we're going on, even if we're using it pure, it shouldn't end up looking too strong. Never hurts to be cautious though, so I'm going to go inside one of our big fat sections. See how it looks. Going to wait for it to dry to make that decision. We're absolutely fine, looking great. Big, soft, kind of curves that make you think of fabric. As with before, I'm going to save the recesses. Here's a bit of a tricky one. Just do what you think is best. And if you've got a way that you prefer to work, make sure you turn your mini round to get you there. Jasper's doing all the work we could have hoped for though. And now we're ready to do, oh, the top of that wasn't great. It'll be all right, we're using a soft paint. Forgiving. What we can do is just repeating steps, should do quite a lot at this stage. And then carefully work out the best facing with my brush before I start. Need to be careful at the beginning of my stroke. All right, looking really leathery now, getting there. And it's just a matter of repeating that and shrinking the area. If you've got any really sharp edges, you can use your brush side on. Whatever you feel the most comfortable with. Especially on bits like this though, it should make it pretty easy. Just make sure you're not lazy and you always turn it around to the angle that is going to make it the easiest for you to not screw up. Painting 101. If you want, you can put a line along the bottom, whether it's realistic or not. And if you want it to look a bit more realistic, you can always keep it just to the bits that are sticking out. I'm going to get the lot though, and then I'll probably hit just the sticky out bits with another one later. Looking pretty good. Right, I think I need to go a shade lighter and then we'll be done. Okay, I'm going to get russet out. Now russet is notably lighter. You could use something way paler and just a tiny amount of it. Like you could use our, you could use stone, or we could use our light highlight that I just got out there, or you could even use something like cappuccino. Just be sparing with it. So, see how much of a difference that's made? We definitely need to be careful with that. So I'm not going to be rushing into anything, and I'll just start with the bits that I know that I want to be the lighter. So the bits of these that are sticking out. Now I know that I said that GW's cloaks aren't too realistic at the beginning, but sometimes you just want to make a decision to make it easy to see where something ends. And that can be visually pleasant. It's up to you whether you want to do these or not, of course. And really, I'm just putting off the point where I have to paint those lines in the recesses because I'm scared. It happens to all of us. There we go. Right, our shiny recess lines. I don't want to, but horribly I think I could go lighter in those, and I think I will. I'm going to step all the way up to something. I'm just going to add a little bit of stone in. Just the tiniest bit, and we're going to be brave, and we're going to use steady hands, and we're going to cross fingers. So this is obviously going to make a very big difference. We want to be suggesting light though. I think that should be enough. And maybe a bit scared to do much more. Okay, brace. Now I'm going to find the best pointing of my brush, take off the excess, and we're going to just do some practice strokes. And there will be a line there that your brush wants to do. So for me, it's my brush text facing away. My text is on the other side. Okay, and I'm going to keep that angle while I do these strokes. He says. Good. Not so good. Not perfect, but the colour works, and the colour is carrying us through. And this is why we think carefully about colour. That looks great, actually. That's made a real difference. Just the tiniest bit of stone, doing real heavy lifting there. If you want, you can absolutely go a bit brighter, but there you go. That is one very realistic looking leather coat. One of the options that you do have is to dirty at the bottom with pigments or something, or just some dry brushing. And you can also do some cross hatching on it if you want to suggest it's a bit older, but I think that's quite risky. So I'm just going to catch a couple of folds that have been neglected. And you can maybe hit the ones more at the very top with a final highlight, but I think that's excellent. We're done.